Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with my thoughts on Wolfenstein Youngblood. It has not been easy to review the Wolfenstein series as of late, between the second entry being a little controversial and now Youngblood seems even more so, because we can look at the Metacritic score, which is sitting at around a 70, seems right in my opinion, but then the user score is far off because it's currently being review bombed. One of the main reasons for that is the microtransactions. Now, before I get into any thoughts on this game, I want to make sure you all are aware of where I'm reviewing this game from. And do keep in mind, this is a first impression style video. I only have 3 hours in the game. I have yet to complete it, making that perfectly clear. Anyway, I'm looking at this from the $40–$20 price point. If you buy the deluxe edition for Wolfenstein Youngblood, you can get a buddy pass alongside it, which essentially allows you to gift a friend this game. They don't get achievements or trophies, but still, you can gift them a copy of the game and they can play alongside you. So really, you're going half season doing 20/20, and that's how I'm looking at it from. Anyway, upon entering this game, you can pause it and enter the store. Now, inside this store is the microtransactions a lot of people are upset with, because microtransactions have never been a part of the Wolfenstein series, and for a good reason. It really doesn't make sense why they're here as well. So for $5, $10, and $15, there's a number of gold bars that you can buy, and these gold bars can only be spent on cosmetics, stuff like different looking knives and hatchets, different skins for Soph or Jess, and different skins for your guns. Now, you can still buy them with the in-game currency, silver coins, which is a part of the game's brand new progression system, but I will say so far for my 3 hours with the game, I have not had any impact on the microtransactions. In fact, until people started making me aware of them, I didn't even know they were in the game. So I have not had any issues with this. This does not mean down the line I won't, or it does not mean that I enable these microtransactions. I'm just letting people know who are genuinely interested in the game that I have not been impacted by these in-game purchases. But they are there, and it's very annoying they are there. So if you want to rally against that and not support the product, I totally support your decision and understand. Now let's talk about the actual game, which I'm gonna be honest guys, I've actually been enjoying, and I get a little nervous saying that because it seems a lot of people are really like, screw this game. Now, first of all, the trailers were correct on one thing, okay? I said in the podcast, the dialogue seemed really cringe. I saw kind of what they were going for, that, you know, we don't have to be this Hollywood style of perfection, that awkward can be great too. It's just a mixture of not the best writing and some off delivery here and there by the actors and actresses that sort of leads to these moments where it does feel what a lot of the internet will call it is cringe. And I can kind of agree with that. The story here is definitely a step down, which is a shame because Wolfenstein 1, 2, and I really wouldn't say the old blood personally, but Wolfenstein has always had really good storytelling, and so far here, that is not why I'm playing or enjoying this game as much as I am, which is a shame because it does start off with a really good cinematics of both parents teaching their kids pretty much how to survive, which I thought brought in a new dynamic that we've never really seen with the Wolfenstein series, because we know BJ's world got turned upside down, right? He saw how the Nazis changed the world around him, and it gave him a compelling reason to hate them, hunt them down, and kill all of them. However, in the case of his two children, it's a little bit different because they're born into this world and are being told, hey, you have to hate Nazis, and they're trained almost from the get-go to hate Nazis. Not that there's not some compelling reason already there to hate them, but it was just an interesting dynamic that was highlighted in the opening cutscene, and it was a good tone setter. However, right before that, you're left with a choice. It tells you that you can pick between Soph and Jess, and originally what I expected with this game is that both of them would have different skill trees and different playstyles. However, the game makes you very aware that all gear and all abilities will be available to both sisters, and that this is just a cosmetic choice, which I found kind of disappointing. I thought it was a really weird choice. Now, I paid attention a little bit to the marketing cycle before this, what little of it was there, which seemed to really not bode too well for the game, but pretty much they had said that there was going to be a leveling system in this game, and I thought, alright, that doesn't sound very Wolfenstein, but I'm about it, and it turns out that this game has really overlaid an RPG system on top of some of the base Wolfenstein gameplay. So what you have is, as you quest, you kill Nazis, you level up. And when you level up, you get an ability point, which you can spend on a number of perk trees. And here's where I became a little more relieved because what I care about in leveling systems is where my choices in that leveling system matter, and that means that once I start dedicating down a path, I don't want the whole wall to close in around me, but I want those choices to matter and sort of shape the character and playstyle I'm going for versus my co-op partner who can play the game differently. If we can access everything and get every single perk, then what's the point of having the trees? It's sort of superficial, right? So when I saw the number of perks and the cost of ability points to get said perks, I found myself a little more relieved at how much was there and how different the playstyles could be. There were different buffs, like for example having a higher armor count, to for example getting ability that can allow you to cloak yourself, go invisible, and take out Nazis even if they were right in front of you. But that's not the only new gameplay system that's there. Since it's a co-op game, there is a shared live system. So you'll see on the right side of the screen there are hearts there, and there are 3 of them. So if one of you goes down and dies, you get sent back to a checkpoint, and upon that is when you lose a life, but you'll find boxes all around the levels that allow you to replenish said lives. Now, it seemed like this was going to be more of a linear style adventure as we went through this game, but I actually got a little hint of Dishonored in this game, and it makes sense because Arcane Studios did help with making Wolfenstein Youngblood, and in the level design, you can really see where their work is. And I gotta say, ladies and gentlemen, this is some of the better exploration that we've seen in Wolfenstein games, because Wolfenstein's always been a very flat title. It's always been very flat, and it's always been about finding those secret walls, those secret rooms on certain levels, that type of stuff. But in Wolfenstein Youngblood, you're given a double jump, which brings a whole new level of verticality, not only to the gameplay when it comes to gunfights, but also to exploration. And that's where you start to really feel the Dishonored in here, as you climb up a little scaffolding and you find yourself crawling into a window, into a room, and you can see the environmental storytelling there of what was happening prior to this room being vacated, and you find little collectibles in there that you can get your grubby little mitts on. That type of stuff is awesome, and I'm a sucker for that. But I also love the first Dishonored, so keep that in mind, that this type of exploration is right up my alley. And so I was thrilled to see this in Wolfenstein. The mixture of its great gunplay alongside the arcane style exploration was music to my ears, and in practice so far it's worked really well. Now when you're exploring, it's not just about these open little areas, but there are going to be quests dotted about that you can get at your general hub in the headquarters, and here you can talk to different people and they'll give you quests that give you XP, silver coins, ability points, and build out the world a little bit more. Now the silver coins I mentioned are the other part of the currency that I was talking about during the gold bars section. So pretty much silver coins are littered about everywhere. You can find them in boxes, you can find them on tables, you get them from quests, you get them from killing enemies. You're constantly getting silver coins to the point where I always had an abundance of them, and you can use these to upgrade your weapons, or you can use them to get new skills. Now the weapon upgrade system introduces 3, I put this in quotes, brands. 1 for a rate of fire, 1 for accuracy more so, and 1 for power. So you can kit out your weapon in different parts, where you can have maybe a power focused stock, meanwhile a rate of fire muzzle, and so on. And I really like this level of customization in Wolfenstein. I know it's very much not Wolfenstein, but because it's a spin-off title, I'm more lenient to seeing these new ideas. In Wolfenstein 3, I expect to see some systems carry over, but I imagine it'll return more to the norm. It won't be as RPG light focused as it is in this game, but for what it's doing here, I kind of like what we're seeing here, and I would love to see, for example, co-op come into Wolfenstein. However, while I like the leveling up system and the progression, you do start to feel that there is a bit of sponginess to some enemies because it is level based, and there are enemy barriers, or what they call them, where pretty much it's layers of armor. Now, in previous Wolfenstein games, you would notice that there was armor on them, but if you shot certain weak points, you could reveal body parts and do bonus damage, so it became a little more tactical. It added a little layer of strategy, it became more of that type of shooter, and you can't really have that in this game because you have to be a high enough level to really do damage to their armor and then take them out. So it becomes a little bit about how you're leveling up, but I never got into a point where it felt grindy at all, because when you're exploring this world, you are in Paris, which is an excellent setting, by the way. I've always really liked how Wolfenstein altered the settings that they were in, kind of like what we saw in Fallout, where it was always interesting to see how the Great War affected the locales of the United States. Here inside Wolfenstein, we saw that start off with Wolfenstein 2 as we went to, for example, New Orleans, and in this game we're in Paris and we're seeing how the Nazis have transformed it because they are ruling the world. But anyway, as you're exploring Paris, it's connected by a bunch of metro tunnels. So pretty much what you have are a bunch of semi-open levels. I wouldn't call it open world, but they're very open to explore, and they're all interconnected, and some quests will send you from one part of Paris to the other part of Paris, which I think can be a little redundant because sometimes that does involve a lot of loading screens, but usually what I do is I do everything I can in one location while I'm out there and then move on to the next one, and then if I have to bounce back, I make sure I do everything in that location first and then I can bounce back. So it depends on how you play it personally. If you're just trying to gun through quests, you may be a little more disappointed than I was. Also, as you're exploring, there are these things called actions. Now, actions are your miscellaneous objectives. They're little things like plant a bug in this room while you're heading to this quest, or plant a bomb on this Nazi vehicle while you're going to this location. Little things like that that allow you to have something to do between the to and fro, so to speak. And they're nothing crazy, they're nothing really cool even. It just gives you bonus stuff to do. Another new aspect of the gameplay system are peps. Now, pretty much what peps are is you give your sister the rock on symbol and you give them a buff. So it encourages that co-op gameplay, and it becomes a lot more helpful because you are going to get swarmed by a lot of enemies at times if you don't take out the commander, who is marked by a diamond on your minimap. Now, another new aspect, the minimap is great in this game. It is multi-layered, so it changes based off what level you are in the building and highlights where you are in the building, which, trust me when I say, really helpful. But anyway, taking out the commander in this game is more important than ever because not only does he call in more reinforcements like he has in previous Wolfenstein game, but he also brings in higher leveled reinforcements. So you really need to prioritize taking that man out first before you go guns blazing, which I once again thought brought a level of focus and strategy to the table here. Like I said though, the peps are there, so once the action gets hot and you're taking a lot of damage, you're getting swarmed by enemies, that you can provide, for example, a plus 25 armor buff, which takes out some of the fun of both Wolfenstein and what we've seen in Doom, where a lot of it was about running around these kind of arena style levels, picking up armor, picking up health packs, and blazing through the game that way. Instead, we're using buffs, we're rocking each other on, and we're supporting each other's life in that manner. And it doesn't have to be just that buff to the armor, although I think it's the most practical because armor can sometimes be hard to find, especially in the heat of battle. You can change it to little health buffs and so on, but you can tell that they were trying to spice things up a little bit and change what was a Wolfenstein formula that I think worked pretty well. But the difference is that it's in co-op, so I think they had a little more liberty to try some of these new ideas. And I'm going to keep it real, guys. I like some of these new ideas. I think some of the light RPG mechanics are fun. Granted, I am a fanboy of RPGs, so keep that in mind, that my interpretation of RPGs may be a little bit different than yours. I get excited seeing RPG mechanics in games like this where you don't really expect it. The level design is arguably some of the best we've seen in the series. I really like how the open areas work, and there's a sense of verticality here that we've never seen in the series. That type of stuff is great. The story isn't there like it has been in the previous Wolfenstein entries, but it seems like something with these little spin-off titles, they can't get the story right. Bethesda seems to nail these smaller games, like we have Prey Mooncrash, we have Dishonored Death of the Outsider, which had a really good story, but when it comes to Wolfenstein and their tiny spin-offs like the Old Blood, I didn't think was that great, and then we have Youngblood here with its story, I didn't think it was that great either. So those are just my general first impressions of Wolfenstein Youngblood. Overall, I don't know if I entirely agree with the reviews that it's just an average game or it's very much, as I saw one review say, aggressively okay. I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it tries some fun new ideas, and I think so far from my first impressions, they've worked out quite well. And once again, I'm looking at this from like a $20-$40 price point. If you're going halfsies on a friend, I think this is good content for $20, and I like that they're trying new ideas with the franchise so they know what not to do or what to do in Wolfenstein 3. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about the game so far. I'm going to keep playing it. I'm going to complete it probably on stream. We'll see how it goes. But ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to leave you with my thoughts today on Wolfenstein Youngblood, a game that seems to be a lot more controversial than I really expected. But once again, I gotta emphasize, just don't expect good writing or dialogue, because you're really not gonna get that here. Anyway, that'll conclude it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Wolfenstein Youngblood in the comments down below. Do fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that, as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.